You've been lounging with Skipper. You've been lounging with Skipper. Oh, yeah.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Sitting here, lounging with Skip. I welcome you all to the next episode of the podcast. I'm sitting here with a big time actor, director, producer, screenwriter, voiceover actor, Ade.
What's up, Skip? What's up, everybody?
I welcome you, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks
You
for
know what
having
I'm
me.
saying? To the podcast. I welcome you to, being able to lounge with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And appreciate it. I want to, first off, I want you to talk about where you're from and, how you got into acting.
Okay, so originally I'm from a little country in West Africa called Sierra Leone. And my father was a diplomat, which meant I grew up in different countries, mostly in Nigeria and Kenya. And it was in Kenya where my love for acting, I guess, began. I was in a play called Bees when I was about 4 years old. And my dad was telling me this, that I fell off the stage. But apparently I loved it so much I got back on the stage and finished the performance.
You fell off the stage?
Fell off the stage. I had a mask on and I couldn't quite see, and I'm there like flying around like a bee, and I just fell off the stage.
Okay.
And my dad said he resisted all his parental instincts to just grab me and hug me and hold me, but he watched me just basically dust it off and get back on and finish. And
What made you want to get up there and start and act?
I think just I have that kind of personality. I love to perform. I love to just always be on stage. When I was 12, I did my first feature film with Joseph Gordon-Levitt called The Great Elephant Escape, and that was, I think, the time when I decided I wanted to take this do this professionally and potentially do it for the rest of my life.
Okay. So I'm saying, you were in Sierra Leone.
Kenya at the time.
In
Yeah.
Kenya?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where you grew up?
That's where I grew up.
Okay, so how was that growing up out there?
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. We had, basically being a Sierra Leonean in a foreign country, you sort of hold on to your roots and who you are. So the food we ate was mostly Sierra Leonean. The language I spoke at home was Creole, which is an amalgamation of English and other Sierra Leonean native languages. And it just, that's, where I am. That was my culture. But then also mixing that with the schooling, and I went to private English school. So a lot of my friends were English, German, Israeli, for example. Actually, my best friends were Israeli for the longest time. And when I was 12, I didn't understand why I couldn't have a bar mitzvah, and my dad was like, "'Cause you ain't Jewish."
Okay.
But it was such a melting pot of different cultures and people that it was an amazing upbringing. It was it was amazing.
Okay, so this was going on in grade school up until junior high.
Yeah, so all my friends were international, and then of course I started doing a lot of plays in grade school, and then into high school, into junior high. Also, in 11th grade, there were these professors that came down from England, the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts, and they selected the top students in Kenya to participate in what they called a drama development program.
Okay.
And I passed with flying colors, and at that point they said, well, now you need to start thinking about what you want to do for university. And at that time I didn't know that being an actor or studying acting was a viable option for anybody. I didn't realize you actually have degrees, Bachelor of Fine Arts degrees or conservatory style programs. And they said, yeah, there's several around the world, you might want to look into that. So I looked at several universities in America because I knew I wanted to be on Broadway, and I wanted to be in New York because I thought that was the heart and soul of theater.
Okay.
And I came across a school called the SUNY Purchase Conservatory of Theater Arts and Film, and I saw that Wesley Snipes had gone there, and Wesley Snipes at the time was my hero. So
around what year was this?
This was in 1999. Is when I went.
Man, you're really jumping.
Yeah. So 99, I then auditioned for the conservatory, and I ended up getting in, and I went there for the next 4 years.
Okay, so you graduated from there.
I graduated from there with high honors. So
okay, so you're very smart.
So they tell me, apparently.
Okay.
So they tell me.
Okay.
I think I get it from my dad, who's a diplomat, obviously. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
which was not easy for him because I think following the footsteps. I have 4 older sisters who have PhDs in things like political science, and they're all super smart. And being the youngest, I was like, I want to be an actor. And I think at first everyone was a little concerned, but my dad always tells me this story. He said when I was I think 10 or 11, I was in a school play, and my grades were slipping, and he took me out of the play, and he said, and then the headmaster, the principal at the time, called my dad in and said, and my mother, and he said, is there a problem in the family? Are you guys having problems with your marriage and or whatever? And my dad said, no, why? What's going on? And they said, well, because something's wrong with your son. It seems like he's depressed. Now, mind you, African parents being told a child's depressed or being called into the principal's office is unheard of. And my dad said, well, we just took him out of the school play. And the principal said, for God's sakes, put him back in. And so they did. My grades improved. I was happier. And that's when my dad said, from then on, he knew that I had to be an actor. So that's, I still act.
Okay. Yeah. So what was your first, So what made you move out here to LA?
So I was only here for a 6-week trip in 2004. This is about a year after I graduated from university. And I wanted just to see how things would, work out. Just, for me, my heart and soul was in the theater, and I had no intention of moving here. And I found a manager within a few weeks of being in Los Angeles.
Now, how did that happen?
I have a cousin out here who's an actress, director, producer, writer, host. Her name is Zinga Blake, and she just introduced me to, she was like, you're a terrifically talented actor. I want to introduce you to my manager, and so she did, and the manager just signed me on the spot and was like, I love your look, and I love your work, and why not work with me? And I said, sure. And
now,
then,
I'm saying at this point, what work did they see?
So at this point, the only thing they'd seen, so I had spent a few months, after I graduated from college, I spent a few months doing a mini-series called Whiskey Echo in South Africa, and it was about this Sudanese man who was fighting for freedom, and it was just a great role, a great showcase for me, and that was the only thing really I had done after university. And it was UK, South Africa, Canadian production. Not many people have seen it, but I did put it on my demo reel.
Okay.
And so that's what I showed to this manager.
Now for those, up and coming actors out there, what is a demo reel?
A demo reel is just a compilation of the different work that you've done. And it could actually just be one scene. For me, in my case, it was one really powerful scene in this miniseries that I did. And it's maybe a minute, 30 seconds long. And sometimes that is all you need just to showcase, what you can do and your potential as an actor on screen. And that's all it took for this manager to say, wow, I love your work and I want to work with you.
So no headshots or anything?
I did have a headshot, interesting enough. I had, so in college, I went to conservatory, and luckily there was also the arts conservatory as well. And so these artists sometimes would tell the actors, look, instead of spending $2,000-3,000, I remember at the time in New York, it was outrageous how much you were spending on a black and white headshot. But she said, instead of spending all this money, why not let me take your pictures for free? And I did. And she took these beautiful pictures of me, and I said, okay, I'm going to use these. So when I went to meet with my manager, I presented my headshot, my resume, which only had maybe 2 things on them, and some things I must admit I made up, and also this demo reel, which at the time was not on, we didn't have links or YouTube at the time. It was an actual hard copy of a DVD, of a videotape, I think it was at the time. Actually, it was a videotape.
Okay, so it was a video cassette.
Video cassette. I gave her a video cassette, and she played it and watched it, and was and thankfully signed me on the spot. And so after that, things moved pretty rapidly. She sent me out on a couple of auditions. I remember the first one I didn't book, which made me very upset. But the second one was for a TV show called The Unit with Dennis Haysbert, and this is all within 2 weeks of being in Los Angeles. And
you already booked something.
And I booked The Unit, and then the day I filmed that, I got an email from my manager saying, you have an audition the next day for something called Lost. And I was like, what is this Lost thing? And so I ran home and, printed out my sides and was, auditioned for it the next day. And then I ended up booking that. And then I found out that Lost was this huge, epic show that, I honestly had no idea about. And then after Lost, about a week after that, I had an audition for Blood Diamond, which I ended up booking, and then of course I was on General Hospital.
Man, okay, hold on, man. So all this stuff is going on.
All this within a month of being in Los Angeles.
So if you all, so up and coming actors, actresses, you're listening to this story. This guy came out to LA. A manager liked his work, got him booked. He went in and booked for the unit, or auditioned. He auditioned for the unit. He booked it. The next day, after doing that, he went in for an audition for the TV show Lost. Now, Lost was on what network?
On ABC.
Okay. And how long was Lost on?
Lost was on for, I believe, 6 seasons. It was the highest rated show on ABC for a while as well.
And which season were you on?
I came on season 2, and that year was the highest rated episode in 2005.
Okay, so explain what your role in there. That way, if people that are watching or listening to this, they can go back and like, oh, okay.
So my role was the role of Father Yemi, which I understood just to be one episode. And I remember when it aired sometime in January, almost exactly, what was that, 13 years ago? It was, the fans loved it. The show ended up getting nominated for an Emmy. And I became just one of the beloved cast members. And I got the opportunity to come back several times and play. So Father Yemi was the priest. He was Father Echo's younger brother, and it just explores the relationship between these two brothers who basically sacrifice everything to make sure the other one lives. And but the first episode, the 23rd Psalm, was a very, very special episode, and will probably be the best acting work or show that I've ever done. It was a beautiful show that's very close to my heart.
Okay. And so after that, then you auditioned for Blood Diamond.
Yes.
Okay. Now how was that?
Blood Diamond, I remember reading the script and thinking, okay, this is about my people, it's about my country, and it was a movie that I knew I had to be a part of. And so I auditioned for a couple of different roles. I know they were trying to figure out where to place me, and also because they wanted someone to play opposite Jamin Hon. So I auditioned to play the main villain opposite Jamin, but I was too young. So then they ended up having me play the RUF trainer who was responsible for abducting children and turning them into child soldiers. So I played this real badass, and I've got like a
yeah. Now see, if you go and look at the scene, there was when the kids was around, and you were like, get up, doing all that,
exactly.
Didn't one of the kids shoot the other kid?
And I make them shoot someone else.
Yeah, he made
it's a rite of passage.
That's wild. So that came out in the movie theaters.
And that came out in the movie theaters.
Well, first off, when you saw yourself on Lost, how was that for the first time seeing yourself on this major network on this show? And you were like, wow, like, do you remember where you were and how you felt at that moment?
Yes, I was in my apartment, and I had my cousin who'd introduced me to my manager come over and watch it. And I think for me it was just so surreal to be watching something. I got calls from people I'd never even spoken to all over America and eventually around the world, because I didn't realize how big of a deal it was going to be until it aired. And and it was surreal to see myself and see how I looked and sounded. And because if you think about it, the last time I'd seen myself was about a year prior to that on another smaller show, and then before that I hadn't done anything since I was 12. So it was a pretty surreal, pretty amazing experience to be a part of that. And
Now, what about when you saw yourself on Blood Diamond?
That was a whole different story,
because how was that?
So mind you, I was recurring on Lost while also working on Blood Diamond. So I realized for Blood Diamond, I was 150 pounds when I was on Lost, and I was tiny, and I was very young. And in order for me to believe that I was this badass, huge evil character, I decided to gain 30 pounds of muscle and just watch dozens of documentaries and interview lots of former child soldiers about their experience in order for me to convincingly play that role. And so what was interesting was going from being about 180 pounds to going back to do another episode of Lost where I was 150 something and going back and forth. So that was pretty difficult, but
that was dedication.
It was dedication. It's what you do for your craft.
Yeah. So how was that working with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Incredible. I remember the first day I got there, I saw him do one of his scenes, and he's bawling his eyes out, and at the end I woke up to him, and he's so gracious. He's such a nice guy, and he holds out his hand, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Leo." I was like, "I know." It was incredible. Just one of the nicest guys you ever meet, and of course Jaimon Honsu, who plays Solomon Vandy, and Jennifer Connelly, who's also in the movie as well. Just a trio of fantastic actors. And also Ato Sando, who is now on Altered Carbon on Netflix, was in the film as well.
So you went to the movie theater to the premiere and saw
I went to the premiere and I got to see everybody and hang out with all my friends who I hadn't seen because we wrapped the film, I think, in June of that year. And in July of, in December of 2005 is when it came out.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. And it did numbers.
And it did numbers. It continues to do numbers, thankfully. Get some residuals out of it, yeah.
Now, we'll get to that shortly. Now, after that, then what?
So after that, I ended up booking a show called Heroes, which was with a bunch of Milo Ventimiglia and a few others.
Now, what network is that?
Heroes was on NBC.
Okay.
And that was a fantastic experience. I got to do 4 episodes. A lot of my scenes were with Holt McCallany, who's on a show called Mindhunter at this point on Netflix. And it was great. It was a great experience. I got to really see how green screen works and CGI and things like that. Because on television, everything seems so realistic with superpowers and whatnot, but you never know what actually goes into it. So it's pretty awesome to see, how when you're rigged up and you're flying across the room, on ropes and whatnot, and then the green screen. It was amazing to watch. Yeah.
Now, around what year was this?
So this was 2007, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
2007, 2008.
Okay. So when did you audition for Battle LA?
So Battle Los Angeles, I auditioned for at a very, very interesting time in my life. It was around the time, my mother actually was sick with cancer at the time, and unfortunately she ended up passing away. But the day she passed away was the day I had my final audition for Battle Los Angeles, and I remember thinking, how am I going to do this? And but I just remember, her always praying for me and wanting me to no matter what was going on with her, to let me continue living my life and making sure that I would do her proud no matter what. And so I ended up doing my last audition for her, and then I came back to her and watched her pass away. And then 2-3 days later, I got a call saying that I got the part, which I always think my mother had something to do with, but it was a very, very wonderful moment, and I dedicated the entire cast, would dedicate the movie to her every day before we started. We'd say a prayer, that'd be myself, Corey Hardrick, Neil Brown Jr., William Rotha, Michael Pena. We all were just we just dedicated that movie to my mum. So that was so we shot that in the fall of 2009.
Okay.
And it didn't come out until a couple of years later because it's so CGI intensive. Mm-hmm. So it took a while for the special effects to get done.
Interesting. Because that was when this is when I first met you.
That's when you first met me.
This is when I recognized that. But I remember when I saw Battle Los Angeles, I don't know if it was on Netflix or maybe it was just on regular cable. Mm-hmm. But I was like, why does this guy look familiar? And that's when you were coming into when I was working at Twain Shop.
Yes.
And you were and then that's when I was like, oh, that's you.
Right.
So that was a good. How was it working with Neo?
Oh, Neo was great. What was funny is, so we spent 3 weeks prior to filming this film. It took us about 5 or 6 months to shoot, but we spent 3 weeks doing
5 or 6 months.
Yeah, and including pickup shots and reshoots and whatnot. It was a long time. Big blockbuster films take a long time, sometimes up to a year. But this one was about 5.5 months, I would say. And so 3 weeks prior to filming, we had boot camp, and so we'd have to just all get together and pitch our own tents and sleep in one big tent and just do PT, which is physical training. Which
really doing this?
We would do exactly what people in the military would do. So we'd get up at 5 a.m, run 2.5 miles,
really?
Do jumping jacks, squats, sit-ups, whatever, you name it. Handle our weapons, 10 minutes for chow, get back, shower for 10 minutes. I mean, it was just crazy.
Really?
Yeah, it was really, really intense.
For how long?
Mind you, we did this for 3 weeks, every day for 3 weeks.
So this before filming?
This is before filming. And so, you have all these super, like Neo and Aaron Eckhart. But Neo surprised me because my experience of him is an R&B superstar. But he was just so humble and just so down to earth, and he'd be the first one, at the top of the line when we're jogging, and he'd just be so in shape, and he took it so seriously. I really respected him. And then, of course, you'd forget that he was a superstar until, let's say, we'd go to the mall after, one weekend during filming, and he would just be mobbed by dozens of girls, and he'd have his bodyguard. I remember thinking one day before we went to the mall, I was like, why do you need your bodyguard? And then when I saw how he was mobbed by all these people, I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So after Battle Los Angeles, then what happened?
After Battle Los Angeles, interesting enough, my career took a little bit of a dip. It was very quiet. Not much actually happened. And then, thankfully, things started picking up. I ended up booking, I started doing other avenues in my career, such as things like Call of Duty. I did a lot of video games.
Now let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So with Call of Duty, they used your face.
Yes, Call of Duty, they used my entire likeness. And
which one?
So I did Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And then later on, they asked me to come in and do Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. So that's my face, my body. It's pretty much me. If you look at it, I play Captain Ajani, who is the head of the Nigerian military. And we had to act out scenes. So it was really like an actual movie. You have your prop weapons, you have all these, you're in what they call a motion capture suit. So you're in this tight like black thing with these like lights all over you, and it was pretty spectacular. You have to use your imagination, because then later on you watch the show and it's just you're in this post-apocalyptic world and all this crazy amazing stuff is happening, and it was spectacular, and it taught me a lot about CGI, which now I love doing, and I went on to do other voiceover jobs, like Uncharted. And I'm currently on a Netflix show, which I can't talk about just yet, but I will in about 2 or 3 months. But it's a major show, and I'm playing the lead in it. And I'm also a voiceover. Okay. And I'm also in a YouTube TV series that's YouTube Red that's coming out soon. That I can't talk about yet either. Okay. Unfortunately, we signed very, very strict NDAs. But the month it comes out, you'll get to see it, because my face will be attached to a lot of the posters. So it'll be pretty awesome.
So your voice is on that?
My voice is on those shows. Yes, okay. Yes.
So what about the TV show that you was doing?
Okay, so recently, a couple of years ago, that's funny you mentioned that.
Because kids may hear this too.
Yeah. So I'm on a show called This Just In, and This Just In is about a young girl or a teenage girl who comes to this high school, and she just tries to adjust to life as a teenager in a big high school. And I think everyone can relate to it. Anyone who comes from some small town into a big city and has to fit in. I think it's a show that can appeal to young children, to teenagers, and even to young adults. I think we all know what it's like to be, a new kid in the block. And yes, it was nominated for an Emmy last year. And we'll see if we do anything with the Emmys this year. Hopefully, we'll get another nomination. I play the character of Principal Pebblesworth, and Principal Pebblesworth is this very debonair, very strict headmaster or principal. But at the same time, he wants to be like one of the kids. He wants to be cool. He wants to be hip. And so he ends up participating in the school play for no reason at all, except because he wants to be a star. So he's not that unlike myself, Adetokumboh McCormack in real life. But it's an awesome show, and one to definitely check out. And also simultaneously, and every once in a while, I play the character of Marcus the janitor, who is the polar opposite of Principal Pebblesworth.
Got you. So working on all these different types of projects or whatnot, you also do your own as well. You also produce your own films and things of that nature, and your own music videos.
Yes.
Talk about that.
So in addition to being an actor, one thing I learned, especially during as I told you, there was a couple of years where I didn't work, interestingly enough. Even though I had a #1 movie in the world, I wasn't working. And it gave me some time to reflect, because also during that time, I had a casting director tell me that in order to play certain characters, I needed to fix the way I talk so it goes the way I looked. Meaning that I didn't sound urban enough, but because I had muscles and I was a dark chocolate skinned man with a wide African nose, I needed to be more urban. I need to be more street. I need to be more.
This person said that?
This person said that. She said, so you need to fix the way you talk so it goes the way you look.
So she wanted you to talk like what? Let me hear it.
She wanted me to talk more street, you know what I'm saying? So that's what she wanted for me. So, that's not true. That's not me at all. So, unfortunately. But it taught me a lot.
So she told
So
you
she,
that.
in fact, she actually did a line reading for me to copy it. I was like, that's no, that's not going to work. And so I quickly learned if I wanted to play the doctors, the lawyers, and if no one was going to give me those opportunities, I need to do them myself. And there's no excuse for you not to in this day and age. You have iPhones, you can shoot films with your iPhones, you have cameras, you have Canon 5Ds. I mean, anything. We have so many things at our disposal and so many avenues. You've got YouTube, you've got Amazon now, you've got all these, you've got Facebook, where you can shoot something and show it on some platform. And so I thought to myself, wait a minute, I've now been working for 20 years as an actor. I've worked with a couple of Academy Award winning directors. I know how to direct, I know how to produce, I know how to write. And so I ended up writing my own material. My first film, the first web series that I wrote and directed and produced was, it's called Me Plus One. And it's based on my cousin's life, and it's about a woman who's trying to navigate through the industry as a single mother, and also trying to get her career back on track in a time where it's about how many followers you have on Instagram and likes you have on Facebook and whatnot. And so that after doing that, and I used to pretty much play myself in the show. And we have 4 episodes of that. We had Neil Brown Jr. in it.
No, where can they see this?
You can see it on YouTube. You can see the first 3 episodes on YouTube. We've had to hold back on releasing the last 2 simply because we're in negotiations with networks about having it be produced into a TV show. So we cannot, unfortunately, release the last ones. But you can actually watch the first 3 episodes online.
And on YouTube, and the name of it's
On
called
YouTube,
what now?
Me Plus One. Me Plus One, yeah. And it's a great comedic show.
And you directed it?
I directed it and I produced it, and I also star in a couple of episodes. So it's just a great comedic look at single parenting, and also what it takes and the village that takes to raise a child. So it's, we try and make sure that, we try and give a message that single parents should not be alone, and if you are, if you're in a position to help, or if you're a godparent like I am to my goddaughter, all it takes sometimes is saying, hey, I'll babysit this child for, X amount of time while you go and try and find a job. So it's loosely based on my cousin's life, and the experiences, the comedic experiences we've had over the past few years raising my goddaughter, my niece. And then after that, I was like, okay, well, I can direct. And so I directed a music video by the artist Kwabena Darkwa, and it's called October 96. And it is also sort of autobiographical. It's about the loss of his mother, the 20th anniversary of the loss of his mother. And it's just a beautiful video, cinematic experience of his life. And that's also on YouTube. If you just Google October 96, you get to see it. And we're actually now submitting it to a bunch of film festivals. Someone had inquired if I was doing anything with it, and I said it was mostly just to put online, and then also eventually put on iTunes. But now we're submitting it to festivals because it's very cinematic and it looks like a short film. And then after that, I ended up writing and producing and directing a film called Irish Goodbye, about a Syrian refugee who comes to Los Angeles to escape persecution. And we've got lots of great feedback from that as well, and it's now doing the festival circuit.
Dang, so so do you feel the freedom? You feel the freedom of actually creating your own content more so than working as an actor for others?
Well, yes and no. There's a lot more pressure that goes into it. So that's the only thing. When you're producing, you're directing, a lot of the time I'm putting up the capital as well. And so then I come up with constraints. I can't have a big, massive explosion, because I don't have the $10 million to do that. So things like that I find challenging. But on the plus side is I can create whatever character that I want and be the character that I want to be. For example, the next film that I'm going to be directing is called Adetokumboh, the German King, and it's about a Cameroonian freedom fighter who basically rises up against the German invasion of Cameroon and is accused of treason, and it just follows his life as he rebels and how he ends up becoming a martyr for his people. And it's such a beautiful story about like this king that nobody knew about in history. But I think that Africans specifically need to know, especially having been called SHITHOLE, you know, and being told that we're not worthy and whatnot. And it's like, no, we come from kings and queens, and I could not be happier that, you know, movies like Black Panther now are being made, because that does echo who we are, and it does echo our culture as Africans, and ties us with African Americans, because African Americans also need to know their history and know that they're descended from kings and queens. So,
yeah, I mean, you know, Black Panther, from what I'm seeing, is going to be a great movie.
Yes, excited about it.
What's a role that you wanted to be in that you just didn't get the opportunity to be in?
Well, I always say not yet. There are a lot of roles that I've auditioned for, and this is just how it is being an actor. When you're like, oh, darn it, you know, I wish I auditioned for that, or I wish I had thought of that character, whatever. The character that I've always wanted to play is one that I've decided that I'm going to produce, I'm going to direct and star in. And it's called, it's based on Samuel Coleridge Taylor's life, the character Samuel Coleridge Taylor, who, if you don't know who he is, he was a composer that lived in the late 19th century, I think from 1888 to 1915, I believe. And he was the equivalent of Mozart in his day. And not many people know about this man. He was a black man, an incredibly talented composer. And he was half Sierra Leonean, half English. And once again, you know, history has made us forget these people who were of color. And I think it's important to recognize that no, people were not just slaves or subservient. It's like you had people who were megastars, who were influential. And Samuel Coleridge Taylor, for example, is a big reason as to why we have residuals and royalties today.
Really?
Because he died, he died penniless. And what the King of England at the time did was say, in order for you've created all these works, which are amazing, we need to make sure there's something in place where we can give you something in perpetuity. After he died, he gave it to his wife. So his wife had money in perpetuity, you know, based off the work that he was able to sell. So
now speaking of residuals and royalties, so as an actor, how does an actor sustain themselves while in between jobs, which is based off residual? How does that work?
Well, so this is the thing. As an actor, it can be very, very tough, as we all know. And I always tell actors, especially upcoming actors, if you can have a second, third, or fourth job, definitely do, because not many people are that lucky. Like I remember the last day job I had was right after college, and I was a telemarketer and calling, and I hated it, but it was really, really hard. But it paid the bills, and I was very fortunate when I came here to then start working almost consistently now for the past 12 years.
So you haven't worked a regular job in 12 years?
In 12 years, no, I haven't had to. Thank God. But what's in place, and this is something that we have to keep fighting for, is residuals. And this is why, I don't know if, for those of you who are SAG-AFTRA members, and if you don't know what that is, it's the union all actors are part of. We are always campaigning to get an increase in our union, in our residuals, because that's what we live off of when we're not working. And there are times when, you know, you hope it's only going to be a few weeks between work, but there's one time I didn't work for almost 3 years.
You didn't work at all?
I didn't work at all for 3 years. And what kept me going was my residuals.
Really?
Yeah. So thankfully, we can make a pretty penny from residuals, but that will only happen if you work more. And the problem is a lot of the producers and whatnot are trying to, you know, for example, even in voiceover in video games, as much as I love video games, there's no actual residual structure in place to make sure that we get paid more money.
Just imagine if you got residual money off of video games.
Right, you know, something that makes, let's say, Captain made over $1 billion its first weekend, I believe.
Which one did?
Advanced Warfare.
Made
So
over
$1 billion, yeah.
In the first weekend?
First weekend, I believe, or the first week, yeah. So you're looking at that. If that was a movie, you'd be a millionaire. So in residual. So just things like that you got to start thinking of. And we're really trying this. One of the things I advocate as someone who's an actor in the union is trying to get more residuals for or an increase in residuals for actors, especially when it comes to things like video game and new media.
So how do you make that happen?
Just campaigning and also sitting in the roundtable discussions we have with our representatives, and always just paying attention. Whenever we have gatherings with the union, you have to show up and make your voice heard. For me, I do that. I did a lot because I only became a citizen recently, and I was like, how do I exercise my democratic right? And that was to talk to my union and my representatives and see what can be done to help other people. You know, it's not only about the individual, it's about the whole. You look at, especially our union, the top 1%, if only 1%, I think, of people who are SAG-AFTRA are able to comfortably make a living off of this. 99% of people cannot make a living off of acting.
Wow.
So we have to make sure somehow the wealth is also redistributed amongst the rest of us, and also there's a residual structure in place to keep people going, you know, during the times when they're not working.
So where do you see yourself the next 5 to 10 years in this business?
Oh gosh, I see myself doing what I'm doing, but just to the maximum effect. I want to be directing, producing 6-7 figure budget, films. I want to do. I just opened up a production company called Loungin Productions.
So yeah, because you also do Broadway. So tell them about the play that you did. It was about a couple of months ago.
Yeah. So I just we did a play called The Dreamer Examines His Pillow for a couple of months. We started off at the Hudson Theatre, and we're hoping to actually go elsewhere later on. But the play originally was written for a white Irish-American man. And the director, he said, I don't know. I think we should hire someone who's black. And why can't we hire, for example, Adetokumboh? And he called me up, and I was doing a movie, a Netflix film at the time, in Ohio, and I was like, I'm the kind of actor. I'm just the kind of actor who I like focusing on one thing at a time. And he sent me the script, and I remember reading the script and thinking, this is for a white guy. I can't do this. And I gave him all the reasons why I couldn't. I said, listen, I'm a black man. I'm from Africa. I have a strange hybrid of an accent. I don't really identify with this character. And he said, for all the reasons you outlined, I think those are the reasons why you should do this play. And he said, Ade, how often do you complain that you never get roles like this, that are multifaceted, that are fleshed out, that are robust? And I said, you know what, almost never. And so when I came back to LA, I sat with him and I said, yes, I will do it. And it was terrifying, but we got rave reviews across the board, from Los Angeles Dramatic Critics Circle to the LA Times, and they all love it. And so we're probably going to come back for a little extended run in a couple of months as well.
Now talk about that movie. It was a horror movie?
I did a horror movie called Confessions of an Exorcist, and I play an exorcist, and that's going to be coming out in a few months on Netflix, and I believe in 45 different cities and theaters. So either see it in theaters, which will give you the full experience, or see it on Netflix as well. We don't have exact release date yet, but it's come sometime this year. Yes, Confessions of an Exorcist. I play an exorcist from Nigeria, and it's a great. I just imagine. I'm trying to think, like, it's like Bad Boys meets Men in Black meets The Exorcist, if you can imagine it.
Okay.
And I play one of a couple of lead characters in it, and it's a lot of fun. It's very, very, very intense, very scary in parts, but a lot of fun. It's a wild ride. So
in the next 5 to 10 years, you see yourself?
I see myself producing my own material and doing films, for example, like the Samuel Coleridge Taylor film, and just bringing to light obscure, unknown stories about marginalized people or heroic figures that history's forgotten, and bringing those to light and either playing them or getting someone else who's worthy of playing them, and just making these people's voices heard.
What is something that you can tell an up-and-coming actor or actress, that wants to move out to LA to, chase their dreams as being an actor, or even someone that's out here in LA that's sitting at home, about to pack their stuff and head back? What is something that you can tell them to kind of keep them focused, and something that if you could tell yourself, was that 13 years ago, 14 years ago?
Yeah, it's actually, there's a quote that I just read today. Okay. I'm going to see if I can bring it up, if you bear with me for a second.
We over here chilling, lounging with Skip.
There was a young lady who passed away, a famous designer in Sierra Leone, who a lot of us knew, adored, and loved. And there's this quote that she has, and I shared it, and I'm going to read it out to you, because I think that explains my sentiments exactly.
Make sure you all go back and listen to the other episodes, previous ones.
Yes.
All right, today.
So here we go. This is what she said. I wish I could go back and meet my younger self to tell her that in life, no condition or situation is permanent. Whether it is good or a bad thing or situation, time will come and go. Things will change just like the seasons. Take heart and never stop pursuing your dreams. In fact, dream bigger dreams for yourself and work hard to pursue them. And as you pursue your dreams and you face obstacles and challenges, the highs and the lows that come your way, keep in the back of your mind that no condition is permanent. Get comfortable behind the wheel, but don't get complacent. Adama of Ashel Be Design. So that's the advice I give.
That's the advice you give.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how can people reach you if they want to book you or anything like that? They want to,
If you want to reach out to me, follow me on Twitter at Adetokumboh, which is my full, which is always a challenge for a lot of people. So it's Adetokumboh. So that's at Adetokumboh. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at Adetokumboh.
Okay, so that's it. That's it.
Yeah, and I will respond. I always do.
So, response.
Yeah.
Hey, Ade, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Thank you so
thank
much
you
for having me.
for
Absolutely.
coming through, lounging with Skip. You know what I'm saying? Until next time, the next episode. Peace.